Now this is, I'm running a Holley water pump manifold. So I've got a Holley water pump, which I found out is actually a Corvette part. So the next time I need to go to the auto parts store, I can just buy a Corvette pump and it'll bolt right into here. This is an idler pulley off of a Jeep. I got this off Rock Auto. This is a Camaro or Cadillac LS style water power steering pump and reservoir. I got this off of eBay, and it bolts right onto this Holley water pump bracket. The only thing I'm missing, obviously, is a harmonic balancer, so I can get the spacing correct. I will have to get that from Holley, or there's another source I'm still working on to check to see if it'll fit as well. But the alternator is my main focus today. This is the much larger alternator. I'm not 100% sure the amperage. I should have looked that up before I looked at the point of the video is using what you have on hand. I could simply go to I could go to the parts store and I could find out, hey, I need the smaller diameter alternator and spend a bunch of money. Or I could utilize what I have. I've already modified the mounting bolt for the power feed from the alternator. It used to stick off the back and would hit the head. And this manifold is designed to push everything forward and give you the gap you need. So I just lopped that off and put a 90 on it. And now I can put my battery cable to that. And I put a little plug on the back side so they don't ground out and cause a problem there. The other issue I'm having, this larger diameter alternator is obviously hitting the power steering reservoir. That's not gonna work. So I went out and found a simple piece of pipe from the home improvement store. I'm going to cut that down, and that'll be my sleever for in the bracket here, the original Holley bracket. So I'm still not modifying any of my bracketry or my alternator. And I'm going to simply put that in there and make some ears to push the alternator up just slightly enough to clear the power steering and still be able to get my hand on this cap to service that. That'll allow me to utilize what I have on hand instead of going to the parts store. And we'll go through that today real quick. Actually, hopefully it won't take all day, but I've got an idea in mind. It's a pretty simple bracket, and we'll just make some ears to come off of here and grab this tab on the alternator. So yeah, let's get started. All right, first thing first, we'll go ahead and get this fit in place and cut down to fit the bracket. And basically, it looks to me like if I cut the threads off of this piece of pipe, that spacing is perfect. It's actually 2 inches of spacing there. So I'm just going to cut the threads off of that, and maybe I'll leave one thread on each end, or you know what? No, I'm going to cut the threads off. That'll work perfect, and we'll go from there. That'll be the start of our bracket. All right, got the pipe cut down, cut the threads off, and I also forgot to mention earlier that I made sure this is the right dimension that'll fit on the shank of this bolt. I'll get it in the camera there. Make sure this is the right size. This is the bolt come off the bracket. This is the, make sure it was the right size shank. It's got a little bit of play in it, but I mean, you're talking a little bit. Once I tighten everything down, that's nothing. Now, the only concern I'm having now, which I thought about before, but I kind of wanted to just move forward with it and hope for the best in the end, is getting the right size belt. Now, there's tons and tons of different belt sizes out there. Lengths is really what I'm concerned about. You know, if I space this up now, am I running the right type of serpentine belt for this? Now, I don't know if Holley supplies, which they probably do. This is a pretty comprehensive kit if you buy the whole kit. But I'm sure they figured out the belt routing, running a power steering, and I still don't have an AC pump, which I need to get. You know, when I buy the AC system, I'll buy all that in one. But I'm sure this kit is designed around a certain size belt. But my plan is just to get a rope or a string and run the route of the belt the way it's designed to go, and just take it to the parts house, and hopefully I can find a belt that's really close, and the tensioner can help make up some of the difference if there is any. But like I said, I'll worry about later on down the road. I'm not too concerned with that right now. But this fits in there just perfect. And I run the bolt in there like that, and new alternator will swing down and put some ears on there. It'll be similar to these ears here, but it's just like an adapter extension. Like I said, it's pretty basic stuff. If you're building cars, you should be able to do this pretty easy. And I'm gonna get most of this out of the scrap bin. Yeah, I'm not using anything special here. These bolts come out of a junkyard motor, mostly because I didn't have any metric stash bolts. All my stuff's standard stuff. So this motor and drivetrain is all metric parts and pieces. It's kind of a hodgepodge mix. Body and all that's standard stuff, and drivetrain and all that's metric. But that's what you do. That's what you run into when you work on newer cars. A lot of mix and match when you blend new cars and old cars together. Anyway, getting off subject again. I start rambling. Get this in here, and I'm going to measure. I measured before, it was 2 inches to the center of that, to the center of this when I had it where I wanted it. So I'm going to go ahead and make some little ears, and I'll get them bent correctly, and we'll see where we go from there. Matter of fact, I may just make a piece out of a piece of cardboard or a piece of lighter gauge scrap steel that I got, and go from there and see what I can come up with. All right, got a piece of scrap here, and like I said, my distance is 2 inches, so I'm gonna have to, bracket's gonna be a little bit longer than that because it has to bend towards me and then back straight. So I wanna mark the hole location here. And get a close approximate number. It ain't gotta be perfect. Like I said, this is a scrap piece. So I'll drill this hole and measure up and come out and go back up, and you'll see in here in just a second. It'll take shape pretty quick. All right, so just based on eyeball measurements and a little bit of marking here and there, this is the bracket I've come up with. I'll make a little adjustment here. I'm not going to have this much spacing between this bend. Probably what I'll do is make this out of 2 pieces and weld it, because I'm going to use a little bit thicker material, and it's going to be a little more difficult to bend with what I have on hand. But that is the gist of my bracket. I'm going to have, like I said, the pipe going in there, and I'll have 2 of these, and it'll just adapt this bracket to that bracket and space it just enough to clear the power steering pump reservoir. So it's going to be really close, because I don't want to get too carried away and push it all the way up, because I still got to build an engine cover and all that. So I don't want to get way up here and start fighting other things. So I'm just going to buy myself just enough room, about like that, and that'll be plenty of room. It's going to be a real rigid piece, so it's not going to wiggle around. It can get pretty close. But let's go ahead and get this cut out of some heavier material, and I'll shrink this bend a little bit, probably by half at least. I don't have as much as I thought there. I was just eyeballing it to get a little piece made up and kind of get a start. Yeah, let's get to it. All right, one step closer. I got the thicker ear made. I just picked up some 1/8 inch angle and cut the flat side of it. And as you can see, I don't need much of a bend at all. So really, I'm just going to bend the thickness of the bracket and inset it, and then I'll notch these to fit the pipe that I've got in there for the spacer. So I got 2 of these made up. A little slight tweak here on that, and we'll come back and fit them again and see how they fit. All right, both ears are bent, and now just got to get the right height. Whoa, let me back this up. All right, both ears are bent and in position. I wanted to just get the right height. Obviously, it's a lot more than I want. I wanted a little tighter than that to the pump. So I'm going to trim these down to fit, and I'll trim them at an arch to fit the tubing in there. Probably drop it down 1/4 inch, 3/8, something like that. And I'll tell you what, I'm going to use my calibrated eyeball and just go here, and that'll be the start of my arch. I'll go here so you can see. That'll be the start of my arch, and I'll take this pipe out and put it up here against this tubing, or this plate, so I can get the arch correct. And yeah, like I said, it's only just a slight little bend just to get them to go around. Just a slight bend here to get them to go around this ear and back, tucked back in. So yeah, I think it'll work out perfect. We'll get them trimmed up and we'll get back to it. So we got the bracket in place, trimmed it to fit the diameter of the tubing there. Actually, as soon as I dropped it down, I laid it. I figured out that this back bracket, if you can barely see it, had to be notched just slightly around the tank of the power steering there. Obviously, there's not any material here, but on the back side, that square piece kind of got in the way. But you can see just barely had to round it out with the grinder, but no big deal. Now I'm going to fire up the welder, get a couple tacks on this to the pipe, and then I'll take it off and weld it off the car so I don't get any slag or melt this plastic box. But yeah, I'm happy with that. It's a nice, simple little bracket. Got just enough clearance, and be able to keep the alternator I have on hand. And I'm pretty sure, obviously the bigger diameter, I'm pretty sure this dead giveaway, this is a much more powerful alternator than the other smaller one. I could be mistaken, but like I said, the whole point of this is to use what you have on hand. Don't have to run to the parts store and necessarily buy different parts. You can make what you got work, and that's what I did here. So get it cleaned up, welded up, and we'll be on to the next part of the project. All right, got my bracket in place and fitting really nice. Got plenty of room around the power steering pump reservoir. Dress the welds up, grinder and file and all that good stuff, and I'll paint it and make it look good. But later on, I'm not worried about painting stuff right now, but looks and works great. Just exactly what I was trying to do. Use the original alternator and just space it up a little bit. Now, if it turns out I can't find a belt for it, I guess I'll have to spend a little money and get the smaller alternator so that it'll fit in this bracket. But for now, I feel pretty good about being able to get a belt. Like I said, there's tons of shapes and sizes of belts, so I really feel confident about that. So that's done. Moving on, I got to modify a motor mount. I realized that this engine is sitting a little crooked. It was about 4 degrees shifted towards the passenger side. Actually, this side was higher. The driver's side was higher than the passenger side. So I'm having to modify the passenger side motor mount, and I'm going to space it up a little bit and lift this side of the engine up. And that'll make it level with the rest of the car. So just a minor little oversight, no big deal. But we'll get it fixed and get the motor tilted back the way it should be. We'll be back at it in just a second. So I went ahead and, like I said earlier, tweaked the motor mounts. I had to kind of adjust the motor a little bit. It was leaning a little bit to the passenger side, a few degrees off, but fixed that. I welded I cut the stub off where the bolt goes through. I cut that off the plate for the frame mount, and had to cut that loose and gap it a little bit to get the angle of the motor correct. So now it's sitting nice and flush with the car, or a plumb, I guess you'd call it. Both of them are 0 degrees as far as side to side angle. And moving right along, I got the front end kind of partially assembled, and I was fiddling around with the headlight surround. I need to get a grill material before I go any further with the headlight surround. I wanted to kind of get rid of these headlight bolts, not headlight bolts, but fender bolts. I don't want to see those because the ring I'm planning on using, if I can pick it up here, the ring I plan on using for the headlight leaves those exposed. This is off of 60 or 61 Falcon, I'm not sure, but all it does is surround the headlight and finish off the bucket, so you don't see all the hardware. But you can still see, obviously you can still see that bolt and that bolt there. So what I'd like to do is finish this off with a piece of sheet metal, obviously cut the opening for the headlight, but have these as a stud, so you bolt them in from the back. That way you don't see those, and this is a finished plate panel. Still a little worried about how the fender will fit on the car because it slides in this way. Obviously, the assembly of a car goes a certain way and one way only, especially if you build a custom or tighten up all the gaps. You really have to pay attention to how the car is assembled. It usually only goes one way and everything fits perfect. So just fighting that, and it's all self-inflicted. It is what it is. Still got a little bit of work to do on this metal here. and get this panel aligned. This was all brand new, so it's all, a lot of this still has to be tweaked and aligned and fit perfectly. It's roughed in right now. It's close, but it's probably about 80% there in my opinion. I also wanting to get rid of more bolts. This is this panel here I made to cover up the bolts on the fender, and welded studs to the back side of the driver's side. I've already got it fitted and sitting up here. So I just welded studs to the back side of this plate all along here. Once it's down, fitting flush, that's what you'll see, and you won't see any bolts holding the fender on there. And I think it'll really clean it up a lot. I can't put it in place because I've got that one bolt there, but we left off yesterday with the alternator bracket. I think I finalized that as far as telling you about that. It's fit, it's working. Working on the front end some more, and I wanted to get the radiator mounted. I've been playing around with it, thinking about kind of how I wanted to do it. I had this little rebar piece here, kind of as a stationary, as a temporary bracket to hold the core support, and keep it where it needs to be, so I can keep my opening straight and all that while I was working on the rest of the car. But now I'm going to move away from this bracket and I want to make a bracket to hold the radiator and some sort of way to clamp it in place and bolt here, but also and still use my cover that I've built. So I want to keep this as just a cover and not a structural piece as far as like to hold the radiator in place. That way, if I need to remove this, it's not going to make the radiator and all the other components that are attached to the radiator, like the condenser, and on the other side I'll have fans. So I want to make this just a simple cover to pop off so I can get in there and service stuff and not have to take the whole front of the car apart to get the pieces and parts. So that's my idea. I put this in place. I've got some studs in there. Oh my goodness. So I've got this, I just got some studs welded to the bottom of that, and they fall into the two holes there on both sides. And so I can easily reach underneath there and unbolt that, and the cover will pop off. So I want to come across here. I'm thinking I want to come across and just use the top of the radiator, maybe two little stanchions there with rubber underneath it, and a solid rod or a bracket of some sort that just kind of clamps it in place and holds it. It doesn't need to be like stupid tight and torqued down. It just needs to be stationary and held in place. I think at least that's where I'm going to go with it for now, and see if that'll work. I got plenty of room in here for fans and things like that, and I'll put the AC condenser obviously on the front, so it'll be nice and clean. And I'm going to try to make it to where all the brackets that I make are going to be up high, so that they'll be hidden behind this panel here. So I've got a couple inches to play with, and let's see where that'll go. See how that will go. I'm still in the thinking and planning stage in my head. I'm getting ready to start kind of doing some measurements and see what I can come up with. Might take a couple of tries, but that's usually how it goes. So we'll get back to it and see where this leads. So we'll get back to it and see what we can come up with. So I decided to use the rubber isolator pad that was in these original brackets. I think these came off of a Fox Body Mustang, T-Bird, something like that. Anyway, they use this little rubber isolator here for the bottom of the radiator, so the radiator will sit on that. And I just bent up a piece of flat bar and drilled some holes in it, similar to the holes that are in the bracket here. And that will accept the rubber isolator, like so. I've got another one. I've still got to cut the little slot in it for the rubber to slide down in there. And I'll weld these to the bottom of the crossmember piece that I've made on the car. I'm gonna get these cut, and I'll show you where I'm gonna attach them, and that'll help the radiator sit on a piece of rubber, and then I'll start working on my top clamps. I figured I'd go ahead and get this piece in, and that'll allow, that'll set my height for my radiator, and then I can build brackets on top of that, and everything will be good to go. So I got a little, my bracket built. I've got a little hole cut out for the spot weld, or drilled out for the spot weld to go in here. It's just going to mount down to that bracket, this lower cross member here that I've made, and sit in there like that. I got one on the driver's side as well to go in. We'll get them tacked in, and I'll put the rubber isolator back in there, and then we'll move to the top radiator bracket. All right, got the radiator in. I'll show that in a second, but I went ahead and made a template for the top bracket. It'll bolt. Actually, I'll take it over here and show the whole deal. The ears, I went ahead and welded them. You can see them down in there. They're welded to that lower cross member I showed a minute ago, down in here. But this guy is sitting on those, and it's very secure now. Obviously, it flops around. So it flops around a little bit. So this is just gonna hold it in position and keep it from moving about. Obviously, you don't want your radiator flopping around. But this will bolt in here, and I think I've got it low enough here. Obviously, I may need to make some adjustments once I get that top panel back in place. And we'll get this bent up. That's what I was doing on the table. I've got my pattern made up, and I'm gonna go ahead and cut this out, and we'll get it shaped up and bent. So flatten that out, cut that out, and that's what you come up with, like that. So I'll follow my bends, make this guy, and hopefully I can make one to make for the other side and make them look the same. We'll see. They'll be pretty close, but I ain't gonna be duplicated perfectly. Let's get it bent up, and we'll see what we come up with. New brackets installed. Loosely, obviously it's not screwed in or bolted in or whatever, but I had to cut the corner out of it and kind of fold that in just so it would clear, my cover here. But I really like that. It's doing what I want it to do. Put a little curve in it on the top and in the bottom just to dress it up a little bit. You won't ever see it, but you know, I know it's there. So I'm gonna get some holes drilled in here. We'll get it mounted to the core support. Probably will trim it a little bit, just because I don't want to peek it. I don't want to see it. So it's right at the line, but it should be fine. Just I'm gonna trim it, and I'll get this welded up and make another one. We'll see what we can do with another one, because not only that, the other side, I made the easy side first. Usually I like to try to make the difficult side just because it's difficult. But I got the filler neck on this side, so I'm gonna have to notch the top of that a little bit more here. I may be okay with this design. I think it's gonna get a little thin right here, so I want to watch that. I may just have to bring my arch down a little bit. But yeah, I wasn't even thinking about that. So I wish I'd have made the hard one first. That's just the way I usually do it. But it's okay. We'll get the template up here. We'll get it folded, and we'll see what we can come up with. So I got my template folded backwards from what it was from the passenger side, and you can tell it's a little close to the filler neck. But like I said, I'm just going to notch it out, and I'll put a little more material on the front here so I can have that support there. I kind of wanted them to be symmetrical, but since you can't see them, it's not a big deal. As long as it holds the radiator in place and does what I want it to do, in the end, I'll be happy with that. So let me get this one marked and cut out, and I'll figure out where I need to cut it and notch it, and see what I need to add to it. So the driver's side is done. As far as formed up and all, I'm gonna still weld this hole here, or the slice, I guess you'd call it. And I had to cut away my part here because it was just really close and touching. So I'm gonna come in with a little curved piece so that way I can get around that weld on the tank. Yep, that'll do. We'll get it finished welded. I'll go ahead and weld the other one up, and should be in good shape. I changed up the bracket situation a little bit. I had a little insight from my dad, who helps me from time to time, throwing back ideas and things like that, back and forth, and kind of coming up with a good game plan. Originally, I was going to come across the front here on these brackets, but also that interfered with the cover too much to the point where it was just ditch that idea and start over. So he decided, let's try to go around the front edge, and that worked out great because now it's a lot lower of a bracket. It doesn't come across the top of the radiator here, and a lot of little clearance. Made a little clearance spot for the radiator hose, upper hose there, and nice and sturdy. The radiator's not going anywhere. And also that'll allow me I'm kind of thinking modular, if that might be the right word, might not be, but just so that my fans and the condenser and everything is attached to this radiator structure here. And this top cover is just that, a cover. I kind of want to integrate that into the intake at some point and somehow make all this flow. Realized yesterday that this intake is not going to work. This is a truck intake, too high, and it actually hits the hood, and I thought I had just enough clearance. So I've got a lead on a car intake that'll lower that a lot, and still be able to keep my 3-bolt flange on my older style throttle body and drive-by cable, or drive-by wire, sorry. So I want to keep that drive-by wire so that I don't have all these cables and things, and I want to get rid of all the seeing all the wiring and stuff like that's all going to be hidden. So less is better in my opinion. But we got that, like I said, got that done. Radiator's done. As far as mounting, I got lower mounts on as well, and kind of started doing some sanding and worked on the rear quarter panel a little bit as well, just bouncing around all over the car. Added some of the fiberglass infused filler to these places where I've welded and shaved some trim, did a little body work there, and it's coming out pretty good. I got a new tool, a stud gun, so I can use that to get here where we've left a little stud there, but there was a ding there, a little whiskey dent from back in the day, I guess, and got those pulled out pretty good. I still got a little bit of work to do on this one, but overall it's in pretty good shape. This is the worst of the body work as far as metal repair. The rest was just trim holes and things of that nature. This actually was replaced. So got to get that slicked up and smoothed out. It came out pretty nice. A few little low spots, but I'm going to skim coat over it with filler, plastic filler, and get the whole quarter panel smoothed up. Got a little more to add here where I shaved the trim and the drip rails and stuff like that. So I'm working on this back pocket here. I had to cut a hole in the floor to just clear where I made my mount for my suspension component, upper control arm. It's got a 4-link in it. I wanted to keep the geometry of the Crown Vic. I had to narrow the track, narrow the axle. So the only thing I modified was the Watts link arms. But anyway, since this intrudes into the compartment a little bit, I need to figure out a way to cap this off and be able to get to it and service it, because I need to get access to this bolt if I have to take the control arm off. So I'll be able to slide that out. Also, this nut is captured with the factory little tang on it, so it keeps it from spinning, makes it a lot easier to work on one-handed or by one person. So originally I just made a simple box. It's pretty ugly. I've already started bending on this one. Sorry about the noise there. Anyway, so I modified it to kind of give it a little bit of something. It just was nasty looking, and it's still kind of nasty looking, but it's getting better. So I modified the part of the box out there, flattened it out where it was unnecessary to have such an intrusion. And originally I was going to continue this on down this bracket here, but I think I'm just going to leave it as is. Kind of looks like I made a little mini oil pan, but this will still clear the frame, allow access, and I can unbolt it. And what I'll do when I go to paint the car, or when I do a liner or some sort of a bed liner material in here, I'll just run a bead of tape on it and keep that flange clean and flat, so I can still mount this. And I run some of the little black caulk, the body caulk that Ford used and other manufacturers used, and that'll help seal it up. And you can still get in here and pop it off. I have some 1/4 20 rib nuts, and they seem to be a little big. I don't have much flange here to deal with. And it would be less intrusive underneath the car. I know, it's underneath the car, big deal, but I guess I'm getting picky. So I'll probably get some smaller rib nuts and some smaller bolts to hold this in place. It's not anything big. It needs to be held in place. I'm kind of rambling, but it is what it is. This is what I'm thinking in my head. So I've got the other one to do, and like bending this one up, so I'm just going to copy it, and should fit right in the same spot. So we'll get back to it, and I'll get a little video of that going on. So the second one is a lot easier than the first one. It took me a couple hours to kind of come up with an idea to make the first one. Second one, I whipped it right up because I knew where to bend it and all, obviously. Just made a little flange go around the perimeter there, and just added some scrap metal because this is not really that big a deal. Weld it all together. I just got to cut this back flange off and tucked it in behind it. That way, it still has a sealing surface, I guess you could call it. Just got to do that to this guy and weld it up and be good to go. I wanted to send a big thank you for everybody who's viewed the channel and subscribe. We're closing on 200 subscriptions, which is pretty cool considering I only have 10 videos. Some of the stuff's kind of boring, even to me. It's got to get done though, but I really appreciate you guys sticking around and watching, giving some likes. All the comments are great, all positive stuff. I really appreciate it. It's fun. Takes a little time to get the videos going and try to get a good video going at that, and entertaining. More videos come out, I guess more of my personality will come out. I'm still a little camera shy. I gotta wait until I can get the shop to myself, just a video, because it's kind of weird talking to a camera in front of somebody, not really knowing what to say, hoping I know what the hell I'm talking about and not sounding like a complete moron. But I've restored a couple of cars before, so some of this process is new as far as seam sealing, and I haven't painted a car in a little while, so I might be a little rusty, but all in all, I really just want to say thank you, and I really appreciate it, and I hope we can get some more subscribers. Get out there and share it. Subscribe, like, comment, do all those good things that you're supposed to do on YouTube, and we'll keep going with it no matter what. Really, I just want to document the build and share it. That's really the whole goal. We got some projects we could do. If anything stalls on this, or I need to wait for some parts, maybe we'll introduce a new project and just keep the momentum going. Like I said, thanks. I appreciate it. Like, share, subscribe. You're watching Big Lake Hot Rods.